Cecil Bridges stood at attention, his weathered hands clasped behind his back as he gazed out the viewport of the UES Dauntless. The vast expanse of space stretched before him, punctuated by the twinkling of distant stars and the looming shapes of alien vessels. At 45, Cecil was no stranger to the void, but today felt different. Today, humanity would take its place among the stars. "Commander Bridges," a voice crackled over the intercom. "Your presence is requested in the war room." Cecil acknowledged the summons and made his way through the sleek corridors of Earth's most advanced warship. As he walked, he couldn't help but marvel at how far they'd come. Just a decade ago, faster than light travel had been a dream. Now, they were about to join a coalition of species to defend the galaxy. The war room buzzed with activity as Cecil entered. Holographic displays flickered, showing tactical readouts and star charts. At the center stood Admiral Helena Vance, her silver hair pulled back in a tight bun. "Bridges," she nodded. "It's time. You'll be our voice in this galactic coalition." Cecil straightened. "I understand the gravity of the situation, Admiral. The Void Horde is unlike anything we've faced before." Indeed, Vance's eyes hardened. "These extragalactic bastards have already consumed 3 galaxies. We can't let the Milky Way be next." A hologram sprang to life, displaying grotesque, writhing forms that defied description. The Void Horde. Cecil suppressed a shudder. "Your mission," Vance continued, "is to ensure Earth's interests are represented. Some of these aliens have been spacefaring for millennia. Don't let them patronize us." Cecil nodded, his jaw set. He'd sensed the condescension from the alien diplomats during preliminary talks. They saw humans as children, new to the galactic stage. He was determined to prove them wrong. Hours later, Cecil found himself aboard the massive coalition flagship, the Stellar Concordat. Beings of all shapes and sizes bustled about some humanoid, others defying categorization. The air was thick with a cacophony of translator-assisted conversations. A willowy being with iridescent skin approached. "Ah, the human representative," it said, its voice tinged with what Cecil perceived as amusement. "I am YAL, liaison to the Etheric Conclave. We're so pleased you could join us in this endeavor." Cecil extended his hand, then awkwardly retracted it as he remembered the diversity of alien customs. "Commander Cecil Bridges, Earth Naval Forces, we're honored to stand with you against this threat." Wyal's multifaceted eyes glimmered. "Yes, well, every contribution helps, I suppose, even from such young races." Cecil bit back a retort. This was precisely what Admiral Vance had warned him about. He forced a smile. "We may surprise you, YAL. Humanity has faced extinction before. We don't intend to let it happen now." As Cecil was led to his quarters, he couldn't shake an uneasy feeling. The coalition was humanity's best hope against the Void Horde, but could they truly trust these ancient, inscrutable species? In the privacy of his room, Cecil pulled out a holo locket. The smiling faces of his wife and daughter shimmered into view. "I'll make you proud," he whispered, "and I'll make damn sure we have a galaxy to come home to." The battle klaxon jolted Cecil awake. He sprang from his bunk, muscle memory kicking in as he donned his uniform. The Stellar Concordat shuddered, a distant boom reverberating through its hull. "All hands to battle stations," a multi-tonal voice echoed through the ship. "Void Horde incursion detected in Sector Omega-9. Cecil rushed to the bridge, his heart pounding. This was it, the moment they'd been preparing for. As he entered, a chaotic panorama of flashing screens and frantic aliens greeted him. "Status report," he barked, falling into his role as Earth's military liaison. A Voltari officer, his crystalline form glittering under the emergency lights, turned to Cecil. "The Horde has broken through our outer defenses. They're pushing towards the Orion Arm." Cecil's blood ran cold. Earth lay in the Orion Arm. The massive viewscreen flickered to life, displaying a terrifying tableau. Thousands of Void Horde ships, writhing masses of dark energy, barely contained in physical form, surged forward. Against them, the coalition fleet looked pitifully small. "Where are the Etheric Conclave's reinforcements?" Cecil demanded, scanning the tactical display. YAL's voice oozed from behind him. Delayed, unfortunately. Spatial anomalies, you understand. Cecil whirled, eyes narrowing at the iridescent alien. Something in Yal's tone set off alarm bells. Before he could press further, the ship rocked violently. "Void horde breaking through Sector Charlie," someone shouted. The battle was joined. For hours that felt like eternities, Cecil coordinated with Earth's fleet, directing them in concert with coalition forces. Humanity's ships, though fewer in number, fought with a ferocity that surprised their allies. Yet the horde seemed endless. For every tendril of void stuff they destroyed, two more materialized. Cecil watched, heart in his throat, as coalition ships winked out of existence one by one. Then, just as it seemed they might push the horde back, Cecil noticed something odd. The Voltari ships were pulling back. Then the Galactic cruisers. One by one, alien vessels were disengaging. "What's happening?" Cecil roared, rounding on Yal. "We need to press the advantage." The alien's multifaceted eyes seemed to glitter with something akin to pity. "Oh, my dear human, surely you understand. The Colshan must survive, even if not all its parts do." Realization dawned, horror and rage flooding Cecil's veins. "You're abandoning us? You're leaving Earth to die." Yal's form shimmered, already beginning to teleport away. "A regrettable necessity. Your species' sacrifice will be remembered." "You treacherous bastard," Cecil lunged, but his hands passed through empty air. He turned to the view screen, watching in disbelief as coalition ships jumped to FTL, leaving Earth's forces alone against the full might of the Void Horde. Cecil's hands clenched the command console, knuckles white. Despair threatened to overwhelm him. They were betrayed, outnumbered, outgunned. Earth was doomed. As if sensing victory, the Void Horde surged forward, a tide of cosmic horror about to crash over humanity's last defense. Cecil closed his eyes, the faces of his wife and daughter flashing in his mind. He thought of Earth, of all they stood to lose. Something snapped. Cecil's eyes flew open, now blazing with an unearthly light. Energy crackled around him, and for a moment he felt connected to every human in the fleet. As one, they screamed defiance into the void, and the universe trembled. The bridge of the UES Dauntless erupted into chaos. Officers staggered, clutching their heads as a wave of psychic energy surged through the ship. At the center of the maelstrom stood Cecil Bridges, his eyes glowing with an otherworldly blue light. "What's happening to me?" Cecil gasped, his voice echoing strangely. The air around him shimmered, distorting like a heat haze. Captain Yara Arcite, her own eyes beginning to glow, stepped forward. "Commander Bridges, I can hear your thoughts. We all can." Across the human fleet, similar scenes unfolded. Soldiers and pilots found themselves linked in a vast psychic network, their minds blazing with newfound power. Cecil's consciousness expanded, touching the minds of every human in the battle. He felt their fear, their determination, and their rage at the betrayal. But more than that, he sensed the latent power within each of them, awakened by the crucible of their desperation. "Everyone," focused Cecil projected his thoughts across the fleet. "We're not done yet." As if in response to humanity's awakening, the Void Horde vessels surged forward. Tendrils of dark energy lashed out, seeking to consume the human ships. But this time, something was different. Cecil raised his hand, acting on instinct. A shimmering barrier of psychic energy materialized in front of the fleet, deflecting the Horde's attack. "Impossible," breathed a Voltari observer, watching from the retreating coalition fleet. The humans, their manifesting quintessence abilities. Aboard the Dauntless, Cecil's mind raced with newfound knowledge. "All ships, concentrate fire on the lead Horde vessel," he commanded, "and focus your thoughts on its destruction." Human vessels moved in perfect synchronization, their weapons enhanced by the collective will of their crews. Beams of energy, now tinged with psychic power, lanced out. The lead Horde ship, a massive construct of void stuff and alien geometries, shuddered under the assault. For a moment it seemed to resist, then it imploded, collapsing in on itself like a dying star. A cheer went up across the human fleet, their collective elation rippling through the psychic network. But Cecil knew they weren't out of danger yet. The Horde, momentarily stunned by this turn of events, regrouped for another assault. We need to push them back, Cecil thought, the plan forming in his mind and instantly spreading to the other commanders. Focus on creating a psychic shockwave. Picture it expanding outward, driving the Horde away. As one, the humans concentrated. The space around the fleet began to warp and distort. With a silent, reality-shaking boom, a wave of pure psychic force exploded outward. It slammed into the void Horde fleet. Lesser ships were torn apart instantly. Larger vessels were flung backwards, tumbling end over end into the void. In the span of minutes, the tide of battle had turned completely. The remaining Horde ships, faced with an enemy they suddenly couldn't comprehend, began a hasty retreat. Humanity, fueled by righteous anger and their newfound abilities, gave chase. Hours later, as the last Horde stragglers fled the galaxy, Cecil finally allowed himself to relax. He slumped in the command chair, physically and mentally exhausted. Captain Arcite approached, her own psychic glow dimming. "Commander, Cecil, what do we do now?" Cecil looked up at the view screen, where the starfield was slowly stabilizing after the psychic fireworks. In the distance, he could see the Coalition fleet hanging back cautiously. A grim smile played across his lips. Now we show our former allies that humanity is no one's sacrificial lamb. And then we reshape the galaxy. The Grand Assembly Hall of the Galactic Concord fell silent as Cecil Bridges strode in. Gone was the uncertain liaison of months past. In his place stood a figure of quiet power, his eyes glinting with barely contained psychic energy. Representatives from 100 species shifted uncomfortably in their seats. The human delegation, led by Admiral Vance, followed Cecil with heads held high. Cecil took his place at the speaker's podium, surveying the alien faces before him. Some showed fear, others curiosity, and a few, particularly among the former Coalition leadership, poorly disguised resentment. "Esteemed members of the Galactic Concord," Cecil began, his voice resonating with subtle psychic undertones. "We stand at a crossroads of history." He paused, letting his gaze settle on Yaal and the other architects of humanity's intended sacrifice. 3 standard months ago, in the face of extinction, humanity awakened. We discovered power within ourselves that you, in your ancient wisdom, had somehow overlooked. Murmurs rippled through the assembly. Cecil continued, "We did not ask for this power. We did not seek to upset the balance of the galaxy. We simply refused to die." Admiral Vance stepped forward, activating a holographic display. It showed the remnants of the Void Horde fleeing beyond the galactic rim, pursued by human ships wreathed in psychic fire. "Humanity has driven the Horde from our galaxy," Vance announced. "A threat you feared for millennia, we eliminated in weeks." The murmurs grew louder. Cecil raised a hand, and a hush fell over the room, whether from respect or fear. It was hard to tell. "We could demand retribution," Cecil said, his voice low but carrying to every corner of the hall. "We could call for the heads of those who betrayed us, who sought to use Earth as a sacrificial shield." Yael's iridescent skin paled noticeably. "But that is not our way," Cecil continued. "Instead, we extend an offer. A new pact, founded on genuine cooperation and mutual respect." He gestured, and a document materialized in front of each representative, a feat of psychic manifestation that left many gasping. "The Terran Accords," Cecil explained, "a framework for a new galactic order. One where betrayal is met with justice, where the strong protect the weak, and where every sentient being has the right to self-determination." As the representatives pored over the document, Cecil's voice hardened. "Make no mistake, this is not a request. Humanity will no longer be marginalized or patronized. We have the power to enforce these accords, and we will do so." He softened slightly, allowing a glimmer of the idealistic officer he'd once been to show through. "But we would prefer to lead by example. to show that loyalty, integrity, and cooperation are not weaknesses, but the true strengths of any civilization. Admiral Vance stepped forward again. Earth extends its protection to any world that signs these accords. Those who stand with us will find steadfast allies. Those who stand against us, she let the implication hang in the air. For a long moment, the hall was silent. Then, slowly, a Voltari representative stood. The Voltari collective signs the accords, he announced, his crystalline form shimmering. One by one, other representatives stood, pledging their support. Even YAL, after a moment's hesitation, added the etheric conclave's assent. As the proceedings concluded, Cecil stepped away from the podium, allowing himself a small smile. The path ahead would not be easy. Humanity's sudden ascension had upended millennia of galactic politics. There would be resistance, resentment, perhaps even attempts at retaliation. But as he looked at the determined faces of the human delegation, felt the unwavering support through their psychic link, Cecil knew they were ready. Humanity had been forged in the crucible of betrayal and emerged stronger than ever. The galaxy was entering a new age. An age of human leadership, guided by the principles of loyalty, resolve, and justice that had seen them through their darkest hour. As Cecil left the hall, his thoughts turned to the future. The Void Horde was defeated but not destroyed. Out in the dark spaces between galaxies, other threats might lurk. But whatever challenges lay ahead, humanity would face them united. And woe to any force that dared to stand in their way. Thank you so much for listening to this story. I hope you loved it. Please remember to subscribe if you did like it so you can see more videos like this. And please give us a like and a comment too. I'll see you in the next one.